Hi guys, good morning. Today it's time to start working on the third color chart. Last week I did the yellows and the reds, the blues and the greens, and today we are going to do a full page of browns, of earth tones. But before I start, I want to get back to the green color chart I did last week. I got quite a few replies to the video and some emails, and I started looking into the Daniel Smith website for a bit, just to look some pigments up. And then I noticed that there is one color, the Cascade Green, that is now on my color chart, but does not quite show the characteristics of the paint. I'm zooming in, so hopefully you can see. What the color should do is to give a green overall color, but then with some blue light in it, or some blue edges or something. And you can see very lightly here and here, you can see some blue in it, but it's not as strong as I saw on the website, and I thought that perhaps I hadn't really put enough paint on there, so that's what I'm going to start doing right now. So I still had space here, so that's where I'm going to give it another go. The Cascade Green, because if this looks alright, it would be an interesting feature, I think. I'm going to make it darker this time. And add some water and just see what happens. I'll have to let this dry up. I purposely put a lot of water on here, and I've mixed thick paint with light ink, dropped some water in there, just to see what's going to happen and what exactly brings about the blue glow, because I would like to see the blue glow. I think what happens is that the blue pigments sink down first, and then the green pigments sort of wash over it a little, because here I already see the blue color appearing. So let's just wait and see what happens. Gonna put this aside, and then I'm moving on to today's colors, which are the browns and the earth tones. It's quite funny because when I started painting, I never really much liked the browns because they were boring. And the more I painted, the longer I painted, the more I began to appreciate the browns, because even in very colorful pages, all the browns and the earth tones, they can really help you make a setting for bright colors. So these days I use them in, well, I think about every painting that I make. Going to start the same procedure as I did last week. Just going to paint this color chart. We're starting out with Nickel Azo Yellow. Wow. Again, a very intense color. I love it. Very reminiscent of Indian white, Indian yellow, I mean. A very warm kind of yellow, beautiful. Going down, Bronzite Genuine. Like most other genuine mineral pigments that I found on this color chart, it takes a bit of work to get some paint off. And it's not very intense, but there's a lot of sparkle in it. I don't know if you can see that on the video. but it's got a lot of sparkle in it. It's kind of gorgeous. I think this would work on skin tones as well. That if you paint a face and you can, you know, add some, well, not highlights, but some shading, and then with some sparkle in it, I think it would work. Verona Gold Ochre. Doesn't come off easily at all. I am really working my brush into this paint, but this is as light as it stays. It's not going to get any more intense, I'm afraid. I'm trying. No. Compared to the yellow here, it's a very, very light color. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. Not too much, because you still need to be able to see the details. What's really nice, though, what I wanted to show you is that a friend of mine bought me a gift. I'll zoom out. She bought me a box of 5 pigments and some gum arabic to make my own paint with. And these are pigments that come from France. And well, I was reminded of that. I still haven't made pigment, I haven't made paint of it yet, but I've always wanted to try and see if it works. So, well, making a color chart like this really inspires me to actually get going and make that paint myself, because I suppose it's not an easy job to make good paint. So let's see. Now we're heading on to Burnt Bronzite Genuine. Again, it's got sparkle. I kind of like the sparkles. Is that a bad thing? It can be very kitsch in a painting, of course, but every princess needs a little sparkle every now and then, and some princess for that matter. French ochre. Well, got lots of French ochres, like I just showed you. Let's see how the paint comes out. Light. It takes quite a bit of work, again, just like the Verona Gold Ochre, to get this paint off the dot. I don't know if that's a result of the used pigments, or that sometimes they need to adjust the composition of the paint. I have no idea. It's also a granulating paint, it says. It's not granulating that coarsely, but I do see some granulation starting to happen. Burgundy Yellow Ochre. Burgundy. I wonder if this is burgundy as in the region, or that it's called Burgundy Yellow Ochre because there is a hint of the color of burgundy in it. Then Yellow Ochre. That color comes off the dot more easily, and it seems more intense. Yes. It's more intense. It's a little orange-ish compared to the ochres that I had, the yellow ochres that I have of other brands. This is a warmer ochre. Well, like you can see, a little more orange-like. Making some space. Mars Yellow. I do know Mars Brown. It's one of my, it's from a different brand, and it's one of my favorite brown colors, together with sepia. Beautifully intense. very intense, and it's a little more solid again, a little more intense than the yellow ochre, Mars yellow. I like it very much. There we go, but again, it's personal preference. I really do like intense color. Raw sienna. Quite red. Other raw siennas that I've got are not as colorful as this one. You know, and it doesn't say anything about the quality. This is a matter of taste, really, which one you prefer. But it is a really beautiful, nice, reddish earth tone. Quinacridone Gold. I've been told about how beautiful this color is supposed to be, and I can already confirm, yes. Oh, I love this. I think I really love quinacridones, and especially of this brand. They are so warm and intense. This is, well, I think this is beautiful. I love it. It looks as bright, I see on camera, as it does here right in front of me. I'm curious to see how it dries up, but it's gorgeous. This is a color I would definitely buy. I think of the row of colors, well, the Nickel Acer yellow is very, very beautiful as well. That's also very bright, as is this color. Gorgeous. Right, second row, or column. Moving on to transparent yellow oxide. Oops. Just messing up my color chart. Oops. Didn't intend for that to happen, but okay. Moving up. Transparent yellow oxide. Beautifully transparent. And yes, granulating. It granulates very fast. As you can see, pigment's already sinking down into the paper. That's a beautiful effect, since I think, well, the yellow ochre is granulating as well, it says on the color chart, but it's not granulating as much as the transparent yellow oxide is doing. Mountain Amiata Neutral Sienna. That's what I think it says. It says Mt Amiata Ndr Sienna. Mount Amiata Neutral Sienna. That's what I think it says. Number 56, in case you're wondering what color I'm talking about. It's a beautiful transparent color. And very earthish, very earthy. Then we're moving on to Hematite Burnt Scarlet. Hematite Burnt Scarlet. I do know hematite, and it's black. So I wonder about this color. Oops. It's bleeding into another color. It's strongly granulating, and what I can see when it granulates is that it looks as though it's a multicolored paint in a way, because Look at the granulation of that. That's gorgeous. This is a kind of tone that I would definitely, this is a kind of paint that would definitely add to my existing palette, because this paint is doing crazy things. It's I can see different colors in it. There is a red earth tone in it. There is some dark brown in it, and some grayish in it here. I like it. I like it very much. It's not particularly a color I would use seeing it on a color chart, but painting with it and seeing how it behaves would definitely makes it very interesting. Then EF, yellow iron oxide. Don't know what the EF is for. It doesn't say on the color chart. Number 176. This is a color, it's probably got a different name in other brands, but I have this color in my existing collection already. A beautiful color, intense, and oh, sorry, I moved it up. It's a very beautiful color, a pretty intense and a vibrant brown. A reddish brown, and I really like it. It's gorgeous. Moving on to a color I don't really know how to pronounce. I'm going to try number 144. It says Goethite brown ochre. It reminds me of Goethe, the German writer. Goethite brown ochre, I think. It needs to be pronounced like that. Doesn't come off a very vibrant color. It's subdued. It's quite a neutral brown, I think. It is again granulating. Many of the many, if not all. Let's see, I think not all, but nearly all the colors on this color chart are granulating, which makes sense because earth tones are very often made of clays, and I suspect the particles in those are quite heavy. At least that's what I think. That's the logic I have come up with behind it. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think makes it logical. Quinacridone Deep Gold. Oh, yeah. Yep, love that one again. It's gorgeous color. Look at this. Chestnuts can look like this straight when they come off the tree. I would like my hair to be this color. Wow. This is one of those colors that makes me smile. It's about the warmest orange you can possibly imagine. I love it. I don't even mind how it takes over the burgundy yellow ochre on the left. Italian deep ochre. Looks very brown, and it comes off brown, but again, like the other ochres, it comes off incredibly transparent. It's either a paint that dries up really sturdy, really hard, or it's a paint that, see, I worked so hard with my brush that I've got all these air bubbles now. It's very transparent. It is granulating, but the quinacridone deep gold is not granulating, by the way, but with such a color, who cares? Lunar Earth. It makes me wonder, did they actually send something up to the moon to pick up some earth there? What is lunar about this? I can't wait to be surprised, actually. It seems to change color It seems to get darker the moment you put it onto paper. It is granulating. So let's see what happens. It has sort of a purple flow, a purple glow, I mean. Granulating very heavily. I love it. I don't particularly like the color very much, but I like the effect. This is a kind of paint, just like the hematite burnt scarlet, that I would start thinking, you know, a purpose for. I would start thinking, oh God, this beautiful paint, what can I do with it? I love it. It triggers another kind of creativity inside my mind, I notice. Burnt yellow ochre. Looks very red to me. It doesn't look yellow at all. Looks more red to me than brown. A red earth tone. It's also granulating. Garnet genuine. Garnets. Did they actually mill down garnets to... That's a pity. Garnets are really pretty stones. But I guess they use the flint, don't they? It's a beautiful intense color. Transparent. And granulating. So let's see. Doesn't seem to be granulating massively, but roasted French ochre. So sometimes they burn the ochre and at other times they roast it. Roasted French ochre. So I guess they first bake clay or something. I'm trying to imagine what... I'm going to move the camera back a bit. I'm trying to imagine what they do to get roasted French ochre. Do they first bake pots out of clay and then smash them to pieces and then use that as a basis for roast French ochre? That's what I'm imagining. That there is a little factory, a manufacturer of pots to break just for clay. Burgundy red ochre. Burgundy red ochre, again, this could refer to the area in France or to a hint of the color burgundy in it. Although I'm not sure if the color to burgundy red wine. Then we're moving on to Indian red. Oh, that color comes off all right. Look at that. Incredibly granulating because the pigments fall down the moment I touch my paper, which is nice, very nice. Just tossing in some water to see what happens. It's a strong color. It's a strong color. It's not a color I use in my, I have in my collection. I don't use it, but it's a strong color. It's gorgeous. Venetian red. It's again not a color I use. Although I should perhaps. It's gorgeous. This is a color I could see myself using for lips. It's granulating beautifully. Color 47, Italian burnt sienna. Doesn't come off very easily. Oh yeah, now it does. Just need a little prepping. This is a beautiful warm brown. This color certainly heads towards the browns. But a very warm variety of it. Quinacridone burnt orange. Yay, another quinacridone. Let's see. Oh yeah. It's fascinating to see how many colors manufacturers can make in the same family. And again, this is different from the quinacridone on the side, on the left. Quite frankly, if I had to start choosing colors in the store, I seriously would have trouble determining which colors to buy, because all the 3 quinacridones so far are gorgeous. They're beautiful. Quinacridone Sienna. Look at this. It's just like these colors contain warmth. But this is so bright, it's almost neon. This is wow. Never seen that before. Never seen a color like this before. I mean, it's orange. If I would have to say, you know, not looking at the other colors it's in, but if I just see this color, I would say this is orange of a color, well, bordering neon almost. Very bright, very vibrant. But then again, you can see there is a warm, earthy tone in it. It's gorgeous. Again, another color added to my wish list. Oh, I should never have started making this color chart. Pompeii red. Pompeii red doesn't come off very easily. I would imagine this could be made of clay found around Pompeii. To me, this feels like a regular brown. No special effects there. Some granulating, but red fuchsite genuine, or fuchsite, fuchsite. Gotta watch my language, but this is what it says. It said F-U-C-H site. Fuchsite? It's a very light tone, but you know, the bling it's got in there makes up for it. Makes up for its lightness. A color I wouldn't choose from a color chart, but painting with it, I immediately imagine using it in skin tones, for example. Ter Herculano. Ter Herculano. Herculano. Hercules? Greek earth? Just trying to figure out where they got these names from. And it is granulating. It doesn't come off very vibrant or bright. I leave the foam bubbles on because that too says something about the paint. It granulates beautifully. It actually, the pigment seems to be so coarse that you can actually see particles lying on the paper. So it's not actually granulating as in making shapes and forms, but you know, there's particles there. I like that too. There's a charm to it. Then we're moving on to Minnesota Pipestone. Moving the camera back just a little bit more. Minnesota Pipestone. Makes me want to look up what pipestone is. It's very light. Doesn't come off a very vibrant color. I think this would be most suitable for landscape painters and portrait painters as well. I think that you can use this very well for skin tones and for very light washes of skin tones. I don't paint lightly, but if you do, this would be a really beautiful color. Sedona Genuine, Sedona. I know it's an area. Sedona Genuine suggests it's also a mineral. I didn't know that. But many minerals actually have a really different name in Dutch than they do in English. So for all I know, I might have this mineral in my collection. Sedona Genuine, beautifully granulating, a beautiful earth tone, not very bright like many other of these pigments, but it's a beautiful paint. Italian Venetian Red. Doesn't come off the dot very easily. And as you can see, here is the Venetian Red number 111. It's much, much, much brighter, much deeper and much more vibrant. I have been working very hard to get some paint off the dot. But it remains a rather subdued kind of color. English Red Earth. I can already see. Oh no, I'm mistaken, am I? Well, let's see. I thought I could see particles coming off the dot, but I think it's just heavily granulating. Yes, it wasn't particles, it was heavily granulating. Another quinacridone, Burnt Scarlet. Yeah, that's a red tone, all right. Look at this. Gorgeous. Look at that. Look at the intensity of the color. How do they do that? Oh, that's gorgeous. Yep, definitely another color I would add to my collection. Pretty much in your face and just absolutely gorgeous. I wasn't really familiar with the quinacridones actually until I discovered American paints. I own 2 golden fluid acrylic paints that are also quinacridones, and they too are gorgeous. If I remember correctly, one of these paints of golden very much resembles this one. Perylene Maroon. Perylene colors were also very, yep, bright and vivid. You can see that again. Look at that. Wow, that is a gorgeous dark red. Oh, look at that. Oh, I can totally add this to my collection. I've always, in fact, been looking for a color like this. I'll try to keep my enthusiasm to myself a bit, because I first need to see how it dries up. But look at that. I have been looking for a dark red color for a long time, and I've been trying to mix it, but somehow reds are kind of difficult to mix. But just look at this. Yep, that should definitely become a part of my collection. Deep Scarlet. I thought I'd already had the reds, and now look at these colors coming up. Oh, wow. Wow. Look at that. So vibrant. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love this. Beautiful color. Just have to check something for a minute. Pyrrole scarlet, Perylene scarlets. Do they have regular scarlet on here? No. Deep scarlet. Cadmium red scarlet. No. This is actually a gorgeous scarlet. I love it. Absolutely love it. Naphthalmide maroon. Oh, wow. Speaking of beautiful purple. Wow. Oh, this is a very warm color. Look at that. Gorgeous, very reminiscent of very deep red wines. Love it. Lunar red rock, granulating. The other lunar color made quite a spectacle of being granulated paint. I'm curious about this one, and it also changed color, so let's see if it does. Yes, it's granulating. Oops. It's granulating, and it does change color like the other lunar color. No, it's different from the other lunar color. It seems to be a little change of color in it. It's a purple kind of brown. It's gorgeous. It's not a very in-your-face color, but if you look closely, it's gorgeous. Right. Piemontite genuine, or Piemontite. Don't know how you guys pronounce it. It's a mineral, and this mineral comes off a lot more vibrant. That's beautiful. This is a beautiful, it's again a purple kind of brown. Beautiful. You know, it fits the palette. If you just look at these colors, it just fits the autumn palette wonderfully. I mean, I couldn't have picked a better season to start painting this color chart, because this is the colors I now see in the leaves of the trees, you know. Tiger's Eye genuine. God, I do know the mineral very well. I've got a couple of these stones, and can't believe you would actually grind them down to paint. But on the other hand, I'm incredibly curious what it looks like. Here we go. It actually does look like Tiger's Eye. Tiger's Eye is always sort of a brown stone with these yellowish flames in there, but the undertone of the stone itself is always sort of a greenish, grayish kind of brown, and that's exactly what I see here. Again, it's not a very bright color, but I find it incredibly interesting because it is granulating, not very heavily, a little subtly it seems right now, but this would actually make a very good color to use for shading. In portraits, I would use this. It's a rather neutral color, and it's much more transparent than, for instance, sepias are that I often use, or umbers. This would actually make a very, very good transparent color for layering, for, you know, applying shadow in layers, for glazing. Gorgeous. Burnt Tiger's Eye genuine. Now they didn't only grind down the beautiful stones, but they also set them to fire. So let's see what happens if you burn a tiger's eye. Gets a bit more reddish. There's two very transparent colour. Not an in-your-face look. Not an in-your-face kind of colour. But it does granulate beautifully. And this too could be used very well for glazing. Would be very interesting. Beautiful colour as well. I like the Tiger's Eyes mineral paints. Hematite, black paint, black stone. Here we go. I wonder why it's in the earth tones and why it's not on the other color chart. Okay, I can see why. It is actually a very dark brown. Wow! Look what happens. Oh, look at this granulation. Oh, gotta have it. See what happens. This is what I want to see in granulating paints. It's an extreme granulation. What actually happens is that the particles in a paint just sink down into the structure, into the texture of the paper, and leaving the rest of the covered area almost blank. I've got to have this. This is wonderful. What I want to try out with this kind of paint is I want to layer it on top of other colors to see what's going to happen. This is gorgeous. Really, really gorgeous. This is something I've never ever seen anywhere before. Beautiful. Thumbs up to Daniel Smith. Okay, let's head back to German green raw umber. I think it says green, GRN, number 121. It must be green, greenish. It very much resembles olive greens. Yeah, well, this is a color I would definitely use in, for instance, portraits to paint shades, because the green is a very good balancing color for red tones. So to tone down red faces, the redness in faces, this color would be fantastic. It's laid back and transparent enough to work in layers, so yeah, absolutely beautiful. Hematite Violet, genuine. Hematite Violet. I never knew there was anything as Hematite Violet. I only know the black hematite. I wonder if this one granulates pretty heavily as well, I can see. Not as heavy as the 156 hematite, but I actually do see some change in colors as it granulates. I see some dark spots starting to happen. Mummy bauxite. Bauxite is what aluminium is made of. I wonder what they mean with mummy. Mummy, the mother of all bauxites, or mummies as in they found a few mummies in bauxite mines and made that into a pigment. Oh God, I'm laughing at my own jokes. That's bad, isn't it? Well, you know, it's quite an ordeal painting yourself through these colour charts. Talking to yourself in front of a camera or talking to the camera is not a healthy thing. Can't recommend it. Permanent brown, 68. Oh, that's a gorgeous colour. Look at that. This is beautiful. Yep, this is definitely a brown that I would use in my drawings and paintings. It's a very warm and red brown. I'm curious how it'll dry up, but so far, very good. Raw Umber Violet. We've just had German green or greenish raw umber, and now we have raw umber violet. It doesn't come off very vivid and bright. It does start granulating immediately. So a lot of heavy particles in there, I think. Very transparent, gorgeous. I've been working a little messy, I see, so trying to dry up so I don't get all these bleeds in there. Transparent brown oxide. Color comes off incredibly easily. Look at that, very vibrant, very warm kind of brown. Definitely a color I would use. Beautiful. This is what I want my browns to look like. Gorgeous. Look at the permanent brown, which is much more red in tone, and this is real brown, as anyone would pick browns. Then onto transparent red oxide. Color comes off incredibly easily as well. It's beautiful color, very beautiful, and it's a very warm and gorgeous color. I don't get as pumped up about this color as I do about the quinacridone, perhaps. I think I find it hard to pinpoint why that is, but it seems that in the quinacridones there is always tones of yellow, orange and red in there that just come through as if it sort of shines a light. I don't know if I explain myself well with this way of saying it, but this color is a very gorgeous earth tone, a very gorgeous transparent red oxide. Nothing wrong with it, can highly recommend it. But the quinacridones, they have a vividness, an aliveness, a fiery kind of aliveness. You know, just like flames that have color, they give light. And I'm not talking about giving a neon light. That is different. It's the warmth that they bring that just, you know, it remains in there once they dry up. And with this color, it just sinks, you know, it's a warm kind of orange brown. And absolutely gorgeous. But if I had to choose between this and a quinacridone, I would probably still choose a quinacridone, although this one is beginning to dry up very, very beautifully. I could imagine myself, you know, composing a set of browns, say in 68, the permanent brown, the transparent brown oxide and the transparent red oxide. Then you would have a really beautiful, you know, set of browns. But it still is a brown, and the quinacridones are not really a brown. I do have to say though that the quinacridone burnt scarlet does dry up quite a bit paler than I had expected. The deep scarlet here remains deep scarlet. It remains a beautiful red. I would buy that, you know, immediately. The quinacridone burnt scarlet sort of toned down, and if I had to choose between these two, I would buy the deep scarlet. I would prefer the deep scarlet over the quinacridone. But you know, personal preference. But this is how I think if you want to compose your set of colors, this is how you have to go about it. You know, compare them. Daniel Smith offered a chance to paint your own color chart with this dot sampler, I mean. It's a wonderful opportunity to test it out and to see which colors you like best and why. Right, moving on, because I'm talking way too much, sorry. Fired gold ochre. Like the other ochres, like most other ochres, as you can see, it's very transparent. Beautiful for glazing, landscapes, flowers, but very transparent. Then EF red iron oxide. I just painted the transparent red oxide. This is EF red iron oxide, and it says it's half opaque, semi-transparent. And the colors are not, you know, they're quite, this one is a little brighter and lighter than this one, but you can see that it is not as transparent. Burnt sienna. Color comes off a bit. No, now it comes off better. But still, it's not a very vivid color. I don't think siennas have to be. Granulating beautifully. Beautiful granulating sienna. English red ochre. Comes off more easily than some other ochres. This also is a granulating color. Doesn't seem to granulate. Well, yeah, it is. Well, these colors, the red iron oxide and the burnt sienna and the English red ochre, are not very far apart. And in this case, it's that's what I always tell my students when they ask me what paint to buy. Many people think that you need artist quality paint, and it is wonderful, of course, painting with these paints, but it's incredibly expensive. And what you do have to realize is that when you get started on paints like these, in the first place, you will always only want these paints anymore, because the other paints will probably not live up to your standards as much anymore. But also, you do need to get interested in the behavior of certain pigments. So in this case, for example, there are 3 colors that are pretty similar. I mean, yes, you can see a difference, but, you know, if you glance at it quickly, it will be very hard for you to tell the difference. So then, if you need a color like this, you do have to go to the website of the paint manufacturer, or to, some reference to the pigments, because now it becomes important which of these pigments mixes best with other colors you've already got, and what effects can be achieved with the pigments. This is a very good example of it, because they're quite close together, these colors. And that's something you have to be aware of, or else you will end up buying all these colors, and, you know, one can never have too much paint. But, well, we do have to mind our purse a little bit, don't we? 11, burnt umber. This is one of the colors I always use. And it's kind of funny. This burnt umber is totally different than the burnt umbers that I've got. My burnt umbers are more grayish. This is a very brown burnt umber. Beautiful brown color though. Very beautiful brown color. Moving on to EF, brown iron oxide. Still have no clue what the EF is for. I decided not to look into it too deeply in making this color chart. I wanted to give you my spontaneous remarks and not be too well acquainted with what's behind this. I can do that later because I do want to compare these paints to the artist quality paints that I've already got. So EF brown iron oxide, beautiful, darker brown than the one before, granulating wonderfully. If you look at this area, it's gorgeous. I mean, if you want to paint trees, you know, then painting the bark with this, you don't have to do that much to make it look natural, do you? Those are tricks, you know, when you paint. For those who haven't painted that much, if you want to paint trees, you want to paint the bark, choose a very well granulating paint. It will help you. Raw umber. This is very close to the umbers that I know. It's greenish, it's grayish, gorgeous. This is a color I often use to shade, especially in portraits, because it's got that greenish and greyish undertone. It will tone down the reds in a portrait very easily. Now, I don't paint realistic portraits that much, but even in painting my illustrative portraits, I use this a lot. You do get a more natural effect when you do. Sepia. I love sepia. I've got sepia of every brand of paint that I have. Just like the indigo. I just don't use it that often. But I love it. This one is not as dark as some others in my collection. Just adding more paint. Just seeing what happens. Let's see. Now it's beginning to flow. It does flow beautifully. And this is a granulating paint, it says. Well, I added a little too much water to see the pigments sink down. They're floating a bit, but let's see what happens when they dry. Then Cyclorite Genuine. Never heard of Cyclorite. I wonder where that name came from, Cyclorite. Can it make you really sick? A very transparent brown that looks very much like the sepia, although sepia is much more intense. But it's the same range of darkness and brownness. Gorgeous. And look at the granulation of that. Don't you like it? Well, I do. I like it very much. Last color of this chart, before I move on to the next, to the last, is a Van Dyke Brown. A Van Dyke Brown is a very dark, almost blackened kind of brown. And this Van Dyke Brown is beautiful. This is one that definitely should be in an extensive collection of browns. There are people who ask me, Mandy, why should I buy all these colors? I could mix them myself. And yeah, you could probably mix colors that resemble these colors, of course. But when paint manufacturers work with specific pigments, each paint has its own behavior and their own effects. I mean, you can't ever attain granulation of this kind with by mixing paints that don't have that granulation. You can't attain transparency when you use semi-transparent paints. So when you start using artist quality paints, then you get into, you know, the characteristics of the paint, and it's very advisable that you do open up to it and that you start learning about it, because it costs quite a lot of money. On the other hand, the paint will go a long way, because it's highly pigmented, it's very bright, and you can very easily dilute the paints. So a little paint will go a long way, but it's still, you know, worth it to invest some time in learning about the products that you own, to make the most of it, basically. You owe it to your purse, to yourself, and actually to the paint. Well, this is my color chart. If you compare it to the reds and the yellows, and to the blues and the greens, especially compared to the yellows and the reds, you can see that this is a much lighter color chart. We already saw this in the green and blue area. This contains a lot less in your face colors. Those that are most in your face are the quinacridone deep gold, quinacridone burnt orange, the quinacridone sienna, and the deep scarlet, and perhaps even the permanent brown here, and the transparent red oxide there. The color that I said this 100 times before, the quinacridones I love incredibly much. The nickel azo yellow here is a gorgeous yellow. It resembles gambosias that I have, and it's absolutely a color I use it, and I would use it. The color that speaks to me most here, that surprised me most, is hematite, which is actually fabulous, and I've just got to guess it. It's beautiful. The effect of the granulating paints are, simply put, they are wonderful, because the hematite burnt scarlet here is actually wonderful as well. It's the same effect almost as the regular hematite, only it's got an earthy wash over it instead of just blankness. The Tiger's Eye Genuine, to me, is a color that very much resembles the raw umber. I think the color tones are, if this were as bright as the raw umber was, I think they would look very much alike. But the Tiger's Eye is very transparent and granulating, and therefore, to me, makes a perfect glazing paint to paint shading in faces in, just like the German greenish raw umber. That too is wonderful for that. One other thing that really is gorgeous, I'm going to zoom in a bit, is this paint right here by my middle finger, my index finger, number 117, Ter Ercolano. If you look at it closely, you can see the particles of the paint. There are quite big particles in there, and it's like there are specks of paint in there, and I like it. It's a beautiful effect. I don't know if I would use this paint a lot, but it could actually perhaps be used in skin tones. I'm going to see if I have enough paint left on the dot chart to start mixing and playing around with it a bit. But I'm curious to see what it would do if it gets mixed, and if the granulation is still as particled as it is here, because I like it. And then you can see that, you know, this hematite granulation is something completely different from this type of granulation. They're both gorgeous in their own way, which is again why get to know your paints when you buy them. Okay, good. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm going to be filming the last color chart tomorrow or Friday. It takes me 9 hours to upload a video, so please bear with me until it comes online. And well, I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and have fun watching the next. Bye bye.